Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the New Cosmic Knowledge Channel. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your host, and it's my pleasure today to have with me a very interesting lady. Her name is Magenta. Whoops. I knew I'd forget to do something. Apologize for that.
Okay.
And Magenta Pixie has been in communication with a collective group of light beings or a higher self aspect since 1993. And she affectionately refers to these beings as the white-winged collective consciousness of nine, or just simply the nine. Now, regular meditation and a journey of synchronicity within her own life led to this awakening and connection. And Magenta releases her messages from the nine in video form on YouTube. She released her first message in 2008, and since then has attracted over 55,000 subscribers, and she's worked individually with clients all over the world. She's the author of Masters of the Matrix and Divine Architecture in the Starseed Template, and has a new book coming out that we'll talk about as well. These are channeled books teaching individuals, particularly starseeds and light workers, to find their own sovereignty through the understanding of their own energy system. And her passion is helping people to move through trauma, embrace the enlightenment and ascension path, and find their own connection with creativity, with divinity, and with joy. Magenta Pixie, welcome to the New Cosmic Knowledge Channel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm so glad to have you. And if you don't mind, if we could just take a couple of seconds and allow the vast majority of my subscribers to gather the pieces of their cranium, because I think a lot of them probably just had their heads spontaneously explode with that introduction, because it's to say it's outside the norm of what we do around here is definitely underselling it for sure. And I'm amazed that we're talking. I'm happy that we're talking, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Oh, it's great. So I knew as soon as I got your email that you were somewhat different to the interviews I usually do, and I'm pleased about that. And yeah, the intro blew my mind as well. Anyway, when I hear all that, I still can't believe that's me. So,
Hey, Magenta, it's so funny. We were just talking a little bit about Sandra D, who's the love of my life, and she's a big fan of yours. And she kept saying to me, "You have to watch this Magenta Pixie lady. You have to watch this Magenta Pixie lady." I'm thinking, wait a minute. I've been the Christian whistleblower for 7 years, and you want me to watch Magenta Pixie? But after the 30th or 40th time, I actually sat down and started listening to one of your videos, and that, the universe is always in perfect timing. And I'm convinced that Spirit has a really good sense of humor as well. Because as soon as I sat down and turned on your video, Magenta, you immediately started talking about your passion of having the quote unquote, woo-woo new age community and the quote unquote truther community reach hands across a divide and kind of come together. And as soon as you said those words, literally I had like goosebumps go up on my skin, and I could feel the truth of it, the power of it, and it resonated so powerfully with me. Magenta, where did that insight come to you from?
Well, that comes from, if you like, the nine, and I'm going to put that in inverted commas, because when I first made that connection and went into a conscious, I deliberately, consciously aimed to do what is called channeling and make this connection with my spirit guide. That's what I thought I was doing. I thought that, I'm here as a human and I'm making a contact with this this entity from another dimension. But over the course of my many years of communicating with this group of entities, I realized that the whole sort of channeling thing is pretty misleading, really, because there's so many different ways to explain what it actually is, and we're all doing this. And so the realization of the truthers and the so-called new age people coming together and uniting was, I guess, a joint realization of mine and a communication from the nine. So just using two different parts of the brain, really, to come to realizations. So yeah, it just came from this inner dialogue, if you like.
Interesting. And Magenta, if I'm hearing you correctly, this the nine, as you call them, it is one of their desires that our communities unite and become stronger by doing so?
No, they don't have desires in the same way that we do as human. What they see is it's already happened. So what they're looking at is a trajectory for this planet and humanity, so that we move into freedom, sovereignty, peace, and everything all the truthers want, and everything all the New Age people want, and anyone who is a loving person. We don't want to be controlled. We want truth. We want a much better society for this planet. And the nine, or that aspect of me, that is light years in the future, if you like, can see these many, many trajectories, these many, many timelines as to how we get there. And one of the ways that we get there in the most likely timeline that's going to occur for us is for a united front amongst all those who want the same thing. The nine call these individuals service to others. And that simply means that we're in service to the whole. So from an American point of view, you could call them patriots. But from my point of view, being in the UK, I would call them patriots to earth rather than necessarily to a country. So when you look at the truther community, that's what they want. That's what they are fighting for, if you like. You look at the New Age community, that's what we want. And we're all working to bring down the same control structure, if you like, but we're doing it in different ways, very different ways. And because we're doing it in such different ways, there is this divide, there is this clash, you know. And you've got the truthers, if you like, looking at the New Agers and thinking, well, all you do is sit there meditating all day, talking about unicorns, rainbows, and sitting with your crystals. You're not doing anything. And it makes them annoyed, makes them angry. Not all of them, but some are like, you're worthless. You know, what's the point of even talking to you lot? Now you've got the New Agers looking at the truthers. They're really dark. All they ever do is talk about child sex trafficking and satanic rituals. And we don't want to know any of that. We are in the love vibration. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. Both of these viewpoints need to be embraced, and they need to be embraced coherently in a balanced way. And I think the New Agers can learn from the truthers, and the truthers can learn from the New Agers, but we don't have to subscribe to either group. We don't have to follow any particular belief system or religion or whatever. The point is, we want freedom, we want truth, we want the control structure brought down. We want that stopped. We don't want these awful atrocities going on behind our backs. Well, half the world, or 80% of the world or whatever, don't know about it. We want this brought to light. And it's not just about the atrocities. It's about free energy, and it's about extraterrestrial involvement, and all the technologies available and everything. We want to go into the society we're now ready for. And the thing is, are we ready for that? And the question is debatable, but if the truthers and the New Agers and other groups can unite together, then absolutely, we're ready for it. And when you look at the power, if you like, that we have as a united front, so you've got the New Agers as a group creating a construct, a power construct, and the truther communities, bring them together. They don't have to agree. It's kind of like if in the old days, you look at these tribes would fight. Let's say, I don't know, you've got the blue tribe and the green tribe, and they hate each other. But then along comes the yellow tribe, and they're the worst, most formidable opponent ever. So the red tribe and the green tribe, they unite together because they have a common ground. So it's not just about battle, and it's not just about bringing down the Illuminati or whatever. But if we want to reach our goal, and we all have the same goal, then unite together we must.
And you said so many profound things. I'm almost disappointed that you stopped talking. That was fantastic. I spent 20 years as a full-time Christian minister. And the infighting and the bickering, many times you can pull, I don't know how it is in the UK, although I've been there many times. You pull up to a corner in just about any town in the United States, and there's 4 different churches on each one of those corners, and they're all fighting against each other, but they claim to serve the same divinity. And, you hit on such a profound statement. We do have a common enemy, and even people that aren't truthers or aren't New Age or aren't, so-called awake, even they know that the enemy of your enemy can be a powerful friend. So even if we don't like everything about each other, we certainly have far more in common with those that, the 80% that don't know or don't care. There's not very many of us, and I'm so moved and touched by your exhortation for us to look for reasons to get together, to look for reasons to join together. And even people as different as you and I have this t-shirt that I made and I sell, and it's one of my mantras: I am divine, I'm sovereign, I'm free. And you believe the same exact thing, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. And I think you said something very important. You said that, you talked about the patriots in the United States. And I used to be very much into that. I spent 6 years in the Air Force. I was in partisan politics for a while. But I think even within the truther community now, Magenta, we're starting to realize that our answer doesn't come from Washington, D.C. or any of our state capitals. Our answer doesn't come from politics. Our answer doesn't come from changing the Constitution. Our answer doesn't even come from having any sort of a revolution. The answers to our problems are not answers that can be solved on earth. They can't be solved politically. They can't be solved financially. They can't be solved in any of these carnal, if you will, means. So I think one of the strengths of the truthers is, yeah, we want to fight. We want to lock and load. We want to go and we want to make things different. And the strengths of the folks that are more in the new age realm are, yes, we can do that, but we have to remember we're not fighting a physical battle. We're fighting a spiritual battle. And what would you say are some of the big realizations that those of us in the truther community could come to? What could the new age folks help us folks out with?
Well, I think you kind of said it when you said you can't find the answers on earth. And I think it's very similar to something Einstein said. You can't solve a problem from the level of the problem. You have to go above the level of the problem to solve the problem, I think. So the new age, so the new age communities, and you're talking about being a Christian minister and how they're infighting within all the local churches. It's the same in the new age. We may look like a united front, but there are a lot of arguments going on in the new age community as well, and people are doing their best to smooth this out. And those that are in what I would call a balanced state are looking for this unity. The Nine would say to me that the power you have when you are unified is beyond your comprehension. So what the new age communities could, I personally feel how it needs to be done is not necessarily the new age community show the truthers this is what we know, and the truthers say, well, this is what we know. I think there needs to be ambassadors, and I'm talking about individuals that have one foot in both camps. You clearly do. Being a Christian minister for that long, you will have had a foundation in religion, regardless of where it's taken you or whatever it's done to your own philosophy. It's given you a foundation. And then you've had, military or links as well. So you've got these aspects to you. You could call yourself an ambassador, someone who's able to see both sides. I think if you are firmly in the truth community and you're looking at the new age and thinking, diamond light codes, activating your rainbow light body and traveling a unicorn through a Stargate system, like what? And it's the same thing with Magenta Pixie. I mean, the name is just off-putting to people outside of that fluffy bunny world. And I had no idea when I chose my YouTube username as Magenta Pixie that I would become well known and that would be my name. It's just happened that way.
Well, Magenta, your revelations are hitting me like a ton of proverbial sparkly unicorn pixie dust, I guarantee you.
Yeah. So I think if we can find a group of people who have a foot in both worlds, and there are many, they are the ones that can perhaps assist both sides. So I guess what the new age community as a whole, or the ambassadors for them, would teach the truthers is you have to look beyond the third dimension. Nobody's expecting you to suddenly go out and start studying, ancient texts, or you can if you want, that's great. But it's just to see that there is more than this linear reality. There's more than the third dimension. And the reason why we need to know this is because the service to self groups, if you want to call them Illuminati, Cabal, Deep State, whatever name you want to give them, The 9 call them service to self. These groups, they're fully aware of more than one dimension. Not all of them are. It's a hierarchical system, and some of those are not aware. But those at the top of that structure are fully aware of multidimensionality and divinity. And this is why they have had a sort of an advantage, if you like, because they've kept these secrets from the world, to keep the power. Because if you have wisdom and you have knowledge, you have power. Certainly if you want to use that wisdom and knowledge to have power over others, because you know how structures work, you know how people's minds work, you know how to manipulate people, you know how to mind control people. So you have power. But true divinity, or the service to others path, which comes from being a good person and caring about others and having an open heart, you don't want to keep that knowledge to yourself. You want to share it. You want to give that gift of knowledge and wisdom to everyone. But the problem is, you can't give someone else knowledge and wisdom. You can't take somebody and say, right, you're in the 3rd dimension, you're in linear reality, you're a truther. Here's my sparkly dust. Woo, now you see everything. It kind of doesn't work like that. The work has to be done by you. And you simply take a journey. Now, all the truthers are already on that journey, or they wouldn't know what they know. Regardless of what level they've got to, then they're actually, according to the 9, all truthers are no longer 3rd dimensional. They're actually in the 4th dimension.
That resonates so strongly with me.
Yeah. So they've already raised their dimensional frequency, and they will already have started to reconstruct DNA strands, DNA changes within the cellular makeup of the body, the molecular structure of the body. That's all, again, it can't be proven, pseudo nonsense and all that. A lot of truthers will say absolutely, but this is what we are getting. The individuals that have moved into this divine path and have made this connection in whatever way you want to look at it, this is the information they are being given, downloaded, uploaded, whether you want to say it comes from extraterrestrials, guides, angels, inspiration. Ultimately, what it is you are reconstructing a template within your DNA structure that is the natural organic structure for every human being, and it is your right to have that structure in your body. And that structure, as you start to activate it, you start to remember things, you get your memories back. That's all this is. But the memories, they don't come like you remember you ate cornflakes for breakfast yesterday. The memories are of what happened thousands of years ago and what could happen in thousands of years' time. So because these memories are outside of this 3rd dimension, we have to find ways for our brain to understand how to perceive these memories. And one of the ways is for angels to come to us, or extraterrestrials, or 6-foot blue beings, or whatever they may be. And this is why the New Age community looks crazy to a sane person. It's like you're all talking to these angels and blue birds and funny entities that don't exist. You're all nuts, but this is the way the brain works. The problem is many in the New Age community don't know this either, and they will say, I am speaking to, an orange extraterrestrial who's got the head of a bird and the legs of a donkey, or whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm making like jokes here. But they will say, yes, I'm really talking to him. He's from the 7th dimension. He's from a planet called whatever. I will say, yes, absolutely. Because the thing is, it's true. This is the thing. Extraterrestrials, angels, the reason why it's true is everything you think about, everything you can possibly envisage in your mind creates a reality. Now, if that is a thought that doesn't have much substance to it, it's a fleeting thought, it creates a mirror image and then it dissipates. But if many people have the same belief and they hold a very firm belief, such as in, God, or in this particular deity, or this particular whatever, that creates a substance or a structure, because that's a focused thought. It becomes reality. And then it depends on which intention or which energy is put into that thought. So you've got, guardian angels, you've got God, you've got the devil, you've got Satan. They're all structures of group consciousness thought. that actually create as a being when they're in other dimensions. So there's a whole lot of knowledge that needs to come out here, not just in truther communities, but in New Age communities, because a lot of them aren't aware of this. But as they question the being that they're with, if you like, as they learn to become unified with that being and that guide, and they learn to trust that guide, that guidance system, whatever it may present as, will teach them. And many are learning. So the truthers can learn from those individuals, but really the truthers can do this themselves, because as I said, they're no longer third dimensional, they're all fourth dimensional by virtue of the fact that their eyes are open to something that has been uncovered. Therefore, there has to be a mirrored match within the cellular structure. So they can go out and do this as well. I'm not saying they have to speak to angels or 6 foot, birds or donkeys or whatever. I haven't actually come across any donkey guides. I'm just messing around. But
well, Magenta, somehow I knew that the blue avians were going to make an appearance in this conversation. And I'm sitting over here chuckling and laughing because as different as you and I are, as diverse as our audiences are, as diverse as our messages are, everything that you just said are things that I say all the time, just from a very slightly different perspective. And as I sit here, I remember, and we got a lot of questions, and I'm going to get to them, I promise. As I remember my own journey, I'm coming out of Christianity, and now I'm almost 20 years into this new thought, or whatever it is that we call it. And I see things, I begin to remember things like you said. I begin to understand. I remember things that I did in past lives where I was involved in control structures. And I mean, you want to hear something crazy? I think I was involved as a leader of a soul farm on Mars in lifetimes past. So, and that's one of the reasons why I have this great desire to bring people to divinity, sovereignty, and freedom. And as I'm listening to you, I understand that it's not just a spiritual awakening that I'm undergoing. It's actually, as you say, a reconstruction of my grid, of my matrix, of my DNA system. And I'm actually am being reconstructed. And it was about a month ago, Magenta, that I literally knowingly understood that I moved from 3D into another place. And it's so powerful to me because, and I know everything happens for a reason. A new relationship, she comes into my life, and I have a whole brand new perspective of understanding, because I feel like it was, her powerful, sacred femininity coming in and uniting with my sacred masculinity. And I almost feel like we were two aspects of a divine being coming together, now being able to realize much more as one. And it's just so fascinating to me. And one of the things you have said, and I want to talk about timelines with you and a couple other things, but you have talked about whether you get the channeling from the 9 or from blue beings or orange donkeys. You've made a statement in one of your videos that many times you think that what you're channeling are really aspects of yourself in other dimensions or even in other times. Is that accurate?
It's absolutely accurate. They are aspects of, they're aspects of me,
right,
in the light years in the future and in other dimensions, but they're actually aspects of humanity, which means all the guidance system, every single guide or deity or religious figure are all either exactly the same soul or, from a linear point of view, extremely related. From one point of view, it's the same soul. It's the group consciousness created by these belief structures. So yes, they are. But from my individual point of view, as Magenta, they are me, and they will speak to me as if they are me, and yet they are us. But they will present in many different ways through each individual person.
Absolutely.
So one might be Ra, and one might be Bashar, and one might be the 9, and one might be Melchizedek, but they are from a sort of a linear-ish reality. So say the 5th dimension, they're different structures. But when you get into higher dimensions, everything becomes more and more and more unified. And so,
and I know that it's true. It's true. And that's one of the problems that people in the truther community have with this whole idea of getting channeling from other beings. And I say we, but I don't see it this way anymore. I used to, and Sandra actually opened my eyes to this. I saw it as, if I'm channeling, I'm setting aside my divinity, my sovereignty, my freedom to let some other being take me over and talk through me, or to download things into me without my permission. But as I realized, it's really not that way. It's aspects of me in different places, or aspects of humanity in different places. So you're not ceding your divinity. You're not ceding your sovereignty. You're not ceding your freedom. You're opening yourself up to receiving more information. And if I understand you correctly, when we receive a message, it's not like you go into automatic writing and you're an automaton. You receive a message and you can still evaluate it. You can still interpret it. You could still say, yeah, this is good for me. This is bad for me. And if you'll answer that one and talk a little bit about timelines, please, for us, and how the other timelines that you know of and you see and that are out there, how do they affect us in a practical way now? And can we, this is a question I've always had. I think we can do it, Magenta, but I need some help with it. Can we leverage the different us's across different timelines and focus all of that energy and intention into this moment to maximize it? Can you run with that, or is that too much?
No, that's great. So regarding the channeling, it used to be like that. That's how channeling would have been. So you would go into a trance, you would open up your fields, in would come another entity and speak through you. This is because the energy, or there's so many ways of describing this, but it's to do with the Schumann resonance of the planet. It's to do with the frequency of the whole solar system and the universe. But using the word energy, it was very dense on this planet. And so the way to make those connections within one's brain to these other quantum aspects of you, these other dimensions, one would have to go into a trance, into hypnosis, into take shamanic plants, or go inside a pyramid. This is what the pyramids were built for, because the outside environment was not conducive to be able to make that connection. We are antennas, and we had nothing to connect our antennas to, if you like, because the density of this planet was so dense. But now it's got lighter and lighter and lighter. We
Right.
don't need shamanic plants. We don't need to go into a trance. We don't need to go into hypnosis. We don't need to get in a pyramid.
Did you just say we don't need shamanic plants? I almost said plants. I'm just so into your speaking.
Plants. We don't need them. However, they are a tool, and they can be used, and some people will be guided to them, if you like, or they'll synchronistically come into their life, and it may be for that person. It's a wonderful key and a wonderful doorway, but we don't need them because we have DMT already in our body.
We're singing from the same sheet of music to an extent that amazes me, Magenta. Please continue.
Exactly. So we're not that different after all, really.
No, we're not.
So when you said about opening up and allowing, another being to come in against your will, well, the thing is, this can happen, and this has happened. This is one of the things the control structure, the Illuminati will use. Mass mind control, because they understand how unfocused and how open we all are. So they can do this. They can create technologies to do this and to change the way that we think and the way that we feel. And if we do go into an intention to channel, what happens when you channel? You are actually opening up to, as I've said, other dimensions within yourself, other aspects of you, and you are going to mirror what you get is going to mirror all that you are. So if you are a very angry person who is violent and is drunk every day and is abusive to your partner and steals things and you name it,
psychopathic, sociopathic,
exactly, and you start to channel, you're going to get an entity or a reflection that's going to mirror that.
It's the law of attraction, isn't it?
This is it. So it's true that channeling, so channeling can be negative or positive. And to be honest, what I do when I started doing what I do, I believed it to be channeling. I'm now aware that actually, although it is channeling, I'm aware also that it isn't. So, I've heard other people say, I don't channel. I'm not a channel, and I don't have anything to do with channelers. But what I do is get downloads. And I'm sat there thinking, yeah, that's the same thing. I've actually heard people say this. I've actually heard other people say, I absolutely do not channel. I absolutely don't get downloads or anything. What I have is a voice speaking to me in my ear very clearly. I'm like, yeah, because channeling is clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and sometimes it's a pure knowing. And there's no voices. I've had people say to me, look, I really want to channel, but I just can't do it. I've tried so hard. I've asked them, please come to me. And I'll look at this person. I'll see the pineal gland, like yours, clear and open. I can see the aerials there. I can see the antennas working. I can see the fields open. I can see the balance in the matrix because I'm able to do that because I practiced in doing that.
Absolutely. And your aura is absolutely beautiful right now. It's just fantastic.
And yours, you've got an incredibly clear pineal gland. Whatever you've done to do, I know that's not what this is about, but just saying.
Right.
So,
And it has, and I want you to talk about twin flames too. And I think that's a part of it. I'm in the middle of that power, but again, please don't let me stop you. We got plenty of time. Keep going.
Oh, well, that's you're basically, you've taken your cell phone, you and your twin flame, and you've plugged it in the wall and you've charged it up. And that's what, because you can charge with crystals, you can charge with geometry, you can charge in a pyramid, and you charge with people. And the greatest charge,
that's so well said,
is the twin flame aspect person.
And that's not for you to feel woo woo and feel lovey dovey. That's for you to be in service and create and be even more helpful to humanity. I think the whole twin flame thing.
Yes, because you can call it a conscious couple, a tantric couple, a destined couple, or you can simply say a couple that are very much in love and have a very creative, unified relationship. I mean,
and I think it is alchemical, Magenta. I really do. I think there's divine alchemy going on.
Absolutely. You will actually be one another's reflection to that DNA change. So every time you're in the company of that person, you're triggering each other's DNA reconfiguration without even speaking. And sometimes
and it accelerates. It doesn't. I just got it down. It accelerates it. When you're together, you accelerate your progress, your development, and your reconstruction. Wow.
Especially when
this can't be the last time we talk, Magenta. This is too good.
Especially when you come together physically, because you then trigger the Kundalini and you raise that up the spine. So that this is one of the biggest secrets. Sexuality through religion especially is made to think, whoa, don't talk about sex, don't talk about orgasm, for goodness sake, don't mention that word. It's all wrong and dirty. And, we're in a society where we don't talk about that. It's not true. These things are, when they are done with a loving partner, these are one of the most powerful ways to activate the DNA structure and get you to awaken the pineal gland, open to those inner worlds, create those inner worlds, go through stargates. I mean, so sexuality, the Kundalini and everything is a huge, huge trigger. And it's time for people to know this. So when I say about truth has been hidden from us, it's not just about what the deep state are doing. It goes way beyond that. And
it makes perfect sense that they have perverted and dirtied and sullied sexuality, because sexuality is one of the most sacred acts that we can do. That's why we should be conscious of who we're having sex with and how we're having sex. And we can learn to channel that and use that tremendous creative power, not just to create, babies, but tremendous creative power and reconstructive power. Find your right person, have a great sexual relationship, and you're not only, it's amazing, you're actually rebuilding, what's your crystalline light body? What's it called, Magenta?
So many names. Crystal light body is perfect. Plasma body, rainbow light body, reconstructed DNA configuration, Merkaba. I mean,
this is real stuff. It's not just woo-woo, it's real
stuff. It's woo-woo and it's real stuff. And the reason why it's woo-woo is because there's a lot of people looking at it and thinking that's woo-woo. So they create. Yeah. But when you do that,
someone said it can't be lower level creepy sex, because that does the opposite, right? It tears down your structure.
Completely. And that's why we have a service to self structure, the deep state Illuminati, that actually get involved in satanic, orgies, if you like. That's why they're abusing children, because it's a consuming. It's the complete opposite. But it is a way to get to the divine. It's just that it's not angelic divine. It's satanic divine, or Luciferian divine, which is another issue. Lucifer stretches across both. Yeah. There's a light Lucifer and a dark Lucifer, and even satanic it can be light, because it came originally from Satan. There is a positive and a negative in everything, and this is another massive problem. And the control structure can use our belief systems and use the new age and use the truth of communities against themselves by trying to divide the groups. And one way to do that is to try to dualize everything. So
Right.
reptilians are dark, and you know, the Syrians are light, and Pleiadians are light, and the Orions are bad. Yes, there's some truth in this, but there's light and dark in every structure. It has to be that way.
And don't you think, just like humans, there's probably good Pleiadians and bad Pleiadians,
Exactly.
benevolent reptilians, malevolent reptilians?
Exactly.
And I
So,
think one of the keys is if we will be willing to reach out not only to across our communities, but if we reach out to other beings and entities that have a combined common interest with us in repairing this
well, that's
construct of
what's
ours,
happening.
we can work with benevolent reptilians, Pleiadians, Octurians, all the rest of them. And I stand open to do that. And even we can work with, I believe, various levels of divine beings are standing ready right now, Magenta,
They
to
are.
join hands with us to work if we can quit fighting against each other. And let me just say this real quick and let you get back to what you're talking about. I get excited when I think about all of the energy weapons they're forming against us. I get excited when I think about all the manipulation and mind control. I get excited when I think about the 5G, when I think about the GMOs, when I think about the vaccines. I get excited to see the quote unquote Illuminati or whoever they are, the control structures, doing everything they can to fight us with energetic, subtle weapons. Because, Magenta, the reason is they know that we're about to figure out that we have the true, genuine aspects of all those things. And they're desperately trying to fashion a counterfeit to blunt us. They're scared to death, Magenta. They know we're this close to realizing that who we are and what we are. And once we find out, their fake substitute things will not stand up to the power of the reality that is in each and every one of us. Please talk about timelines and twin flames as well before we get done here.
Okay, so timelines. Yeah,
Magenta,
I mean,
tell me you'll come back.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
I will, because timelines could take us like all day and all night and all.
Well, just give us maybe a quick idea of how they relate to us here and now, and also if you could talk about how a person can clear themselves out. And what's the question? The question is, I'm getting questions on my cell phone. How do we go from clearing and healing to fully remembering, fully being activated, and coming into our mission to service to others?
Well, you hear this over and over again through so many different religions, especially in the New Age community. It's a cliche, work on yourself, you know, and you look at that and you think, what does that mean? Work on myself. You know, I'm feeling upset. I've just lost money. I've just had an argument with my mother. I've just split up from my partner. You know, work on myself. So yeah, one needs to explain what that means. And when you go within, you're actually going without. When you go within, you are changing not only the molecular structure of your body, but the molecular structure of the universe, because it's one and the same place.
Magenta, that's so powerful. Sandra is my meditation teacher. She's got me up to about 20 minutes a day now meditating. And as you say this, it's just blowing off in my mind. As you go within, as you sit in the seat of yourself, you actually are not only improving yourself, but you're literally healing the universe, aren't you?
Because you are everything.
That is so cool. I'll try not to interrupt you. Keep talking.
No,
I'm going to mute myself.
No, it's fine. This is the whole thing about being unified. You know, we say we are one. But you can look at that and think, well, what does that mean? We're unified, we're one. What nonsense. And I can understand why people see that. There needs to be explanation. So the way to do this is number one, do what makes you happy. Do what makes you blissful. I don't mean, you know, just get off all responsibilities and just sort of sit on the sofa with a packet of crisps and with your remote control in your hand. I don't mean do nothing. What really makes you happy? Do you want to listen to music? Do you want to create music? Do you want to write? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to go swimming? Do you want to go running? Do you want to meditate? Do you want to go out in nature? Do you want to sit with crystals? What is it that you want to do? And start there. Now, meditation is very powerful. It's a really powerful key, and many are drawn to meditation, and it is really one of the most powerful. But there are others that don't want to meditate, so they don't have to. There are other pathways for them. Follow yoga, nutrition. I mean, you can look in the community of people who are into fitness. They're starseeds. Every single person who's going into fitness, who is making a change within their body to lose weight, to become healthier, to become stronger, not necessarily obsessive bodybuilders, but I mean people who have an intention. It's all about the intention. I'm going to go to the gym to lose weight and become fit, and I'm going to change my diet in order to heal myself from this illness. Or I'm not going to see my doctor today. I'm going to see a massage therapist, or I'm going to see a herbalist, or I'm going to be a massage therapist. You know, I have a friend who's, 3D and told me she's doing massage. And I said, you do realize your life will change? And she said, what do you mean? And I said, the minute you lay hands on someone else with the intention to heal them, things will change for you, because you are activating yourself. So there's many, many ways to activate. But this question,
and Magenta, you're so on point, because over the last 4 months, I've lost about 50 pounds and got back in shape, and I'm not there yet, but the powerful, when you optimize yourself physically, it absolutely, totally, 100% helps you optimize yourself spiritually.
Yes, and vice versa. You'll have many that have thought, I don't care about my body. I don't care what I look like. I don't care. I'll eat all sorts of junk. I'm only interested in the spiritual. And then I've had clients come to me who've said, I've done everything spiritually. I've taken this retreat, and I've had this crystal, and I've had this, that, and the other. And I'll say, well, what do you eat? And they're like, what's that got to do with it? And then we'll go through their diet and see that they're on crisps and Coke and white bread. Yes. So they don't realize that it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. Your physical body is an antenna in itself. But this person asked about clearing. My first book, Masters of the Matrix, is more about immunity. It's immunity to that control structure, becoming aware of yourself as an energy system, a matrix, and making that matrix system immune. Are we still on?
Yes, we are. I'm just going to bring up your book as you talk about it. Oh,
right. Sorry, I thought you disappeared. Yeah. So that's about matrix awareness. It's only one model. There are many, many, many models, many books, many different teachings, lots of different ways to clear. And you can actually do this by literally sitting there and saying, okay, I saw a show the other day, Magenta Pixie was on the show, and she said that I can clear my fields and start to, become light simply by asking someone. I don't know who I'm asking, but if there's anyone out there, I mean, this is what I did in the first place when I first started to make this connection. The synchronicity of me wanting to channel had already been made because I'd already asked someone something. If you ask with a pure heart, you cannot attract, people think, oh, what if a naughty, nasty, demonic entity hops in and hijacks me? This can't happen if you're asking with a pure heart. Why? Because you're saying, I'm on the light team. There are rules. There are rules within non-physical reality. And the dark team, if you like, and the light team, which is just a complete metaphor, because there's positive darkness as well and negative light.
Absolutely.
But yeah. There's certain rules. You can't jump in and take somebody who's already, over on this side. So when you ask with a pure heart, so I genuinely want to know, is there anyone out there who wants to speak to me? I'd really like to go through this process Magenta's talking about and clear and start to reconstruct the DNA. I want to know about all this truth. I want to go through ascension. Please help me. Where do I start? And you're not going to see anything immediately. I mean, you might, but, there isn't going to be suddenly a crash of thunder in your house and in steps this angel. It's going to maybe be 2 days later, you watch a film and you're not even thinking about what you said 2 days ago. And you watch the film and think, oh, my goodness, what that character said in that film, that's my answer. It's working. It's called synchronicity. The 9 call this the meaningful subjective experience. It's when your subjective experience of reality becomes meaningful. It becomes like a big crossword puzzle that suddenly starts to all connect together. Many will call it connecting the dots. So you can do that by asking. But my book is specifically about immunity to the control structure. Now, you can do this in a, if you like, a 5th dimensional sense, which is using form. So I'm going to ask this guardian angel or this dragon to come and sit behind me. So I'm imagining a guardian angel with big golden wings, and I'm imagining a dragon protecting me. You're changing your DNA because you're using a language. You're using a language that the right brain, the right hemisphere of the brain, uses to communicate. So when you think of dragon protection, As long as you have the right emotion. If you're thinking of reptilian scary, you're going to be having something else. But if you're thinking big, powerful dragon protecting me that I love and it loves me, we have a language here because it's symbol, it's picture. And then that transfers over to the right, to the left hemisphere of the brain. The two hemispheres work together, which is a perfect analogy, if you like, for the truthers and the New Agers. The New Agers are in the right brain and the truthers are the left. We have to sit
Very
with
profound.
the middle. Yeah, we have to bring that corpus callosum together and use both hemispheres of the brain. That's what being a genius is. And that's what we are all doing. That's what the 12-strand reconstruction is for the DNA, or 144 strand, or 1,000,000 strands, or whatever you want to call it. There's so many different models. How you see this is the way for you. So that bridge that we have in our brains, we need to create that as an actual mirrored structure in our everyday life. And
Excellent.
That's how we will come to bring down this controlled structure. And you were saying earlier about how they know where we are, and they know that we're aware, and they're constantly using these energetic tools. And it's interesting because there are a very few, I don't look at them very often, I'm talking about remote viewing, there are a very few in the control structure that are actually pleased when we reach divinity, even though we do it from a service to others. Now, I'm not 100% sure why. I think it's to do with the fact that there's a divine plan, and you're just one soul, if you like, and that one soul thinks, well, I'm going to incarnate into planet Earth. I'm going to be all 7 billion people. I'm going to split myself into 7 billion pieces, and I'm going to be some service to others negative, and I'm going to be mostly service to others positive, and all these ones in the middle have got to choose. But when you've made a choice of either, then the ones that have reached divinity, whether they've done it through a negative polarization or a positive polarization, it's not so much that they're pleased, but it's more like respect. It feels more like respect because you've reached divinity. It's almost as though these higher up service to self, Illuminati, and they wouldn't be deep state. That's not really the same. These are the spiritually aware ones at the top of the tree. It's almost as though they're thinking, it's almost as though they look at the masses, they see them as profane, they see them as just they're repulsed by the people. But the ones that have actually woken up, they don't necessarily like them, but they'll give them some respect because they're no longer profane. It's kind of like that. It's very minor. Don't really know why I threw that in, but it's something that I have seen. And it's interesting to understand the structure because they're not all just evil. Some of the deep state Illuminati do not know this. They're not told. It's a hierarchical structure, and they're split off into these factions, and some are popped in engineering, and some are popped in science, and some go into the media, and some go into politics, and some go into spirituality, and they become experts in their field.
Right.
And they train from birth. They're chosen from birth to go into that field, and they have to go into the field that they're trained for, whether they like it or not. And I remember saying to the 9, well, if they're all trained from birth, how can we possibly hope to be any match to bringing this structure down, if you like? And as I said, it's not a battle. One has to see it in a different way, but it is a battle on another level. How are we going to deal with this if they've all been trained from birth? They're experts. And you know what the 9 said back to me? The star seeds have been trained from birth.
That resonates so strongly. And I think one of the reasons you said that about they look at us, they take notice, because I believe that, and this, I don't know if you call it a download or channeling or whatever. And if you would, after I talk about this, just address walk-ins very briefly, if you could. But I believe that I've received communication from the Elohim, divine beings, gods, goddesses, whatever you call them. And they are reaching out to some of us. And I'm really not trying to build myself up, but they're reaching out to some of us that have, like you said, they've noticed, oh, this Magenta person, this Jeff person, this Sandra person, this Deborah person, they're getting it, and they look at us, and I'm sure the malevolent beings do too, but the benevolent beings are looking at us and saying, okay, these guys are getting it. This place needs to be fixed up. And I really believe the time is coming, Magenta, when so-called divinities, demigods, and fully awake humans that have transcended 3D are going to be working together. And the gods are speaking to me right now saying, hey, let's work together. Let's change this place. And I think that's part of why you said that.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I can see it in you. I can see the communication in you. And you could simply say your pineal gland is full of DMT, and you are changing the chemicals in your body, and you are reaching other dimensions. You could say that you are having communication, the goddess, you know, the deities, the gods, the extraterrestrials. I mean, the universe is full of infinite beings. It's more vast than one could possibly imagine.
No
It's
doubt.
also it's unbelievable. It's also just one being, one mind. It's also so vast that it's impossible for us to conceive of its size, but it can also fit inside the tiniest atom as well, because
Yeah.
there's no size, there's no space, there's no time.
There's no time, exactly.
So obviously,
what about walk-ins, Magenta?
Walk-ins. Okay, so I've got here timelines, twin flames, walk-ins. Okay,
so I'm just going to be quiet, and if you can just address those for our last 10 or 12 minutes.
Okay, so walk-ins, I'll go quickly through these then. Walk-ins, usually the term is used to explain somebody who has switched very, very quickly from a third dimensional thinking person, thinking in a linear sense. They may have an accident or some other shock or some other trauma, and instantly they are woken up extremely quickly to the point where they feel as though they're someone else. And from one perspective, one could say one soul has left and another one has come in. It really is a metaphor, but it's a very accurate metaphor, because what's actually happened is you've brought in a huge amount of the group soul memory and the higher self memory all in one whoosh, and taken the other part of the ignorance or the linear self out.
We can say our higher self walked in.
The highest, you could say that. The thing is, everyone is a walk-in, and that's what ascension is. We're all becoming walk-ins, but we're doing it in drip, drip, drip. A little bit leaves, a little bit comes in. It's a slow, which is how it should be, really. Well, when I say should be, that is the general way. But walk-ins, there's no should or shouldn't about it. It's another way. It's a shock into enlightenment rather than a slow. But I say slow, it actually feels very, very fast sometimes. You go through what's called fast tracking, and it's like, but you will all do this. Every single person who takes this journey will go through this fast tracking. And what it is, it's almost as though nothing is more important to you than this knowledge. And you will research, and you will meditate, and you will think, and you will communicate, and you will talk to people because you want to know. And
I've been through it.
Yeah, and this is where we are. And when I say star seeds, I am talking about the New Age community and the Truther community, the entire community. The minute you take that step into awareness on any level, because everyone's a star seed, we're all seeded from the stars. It's just that if you aren't aware of that, that's shut down in you. The minute there's an awareness that, oh, the life is more than what it seems, even if it's simply learning something political that's not in mainstream news, but you found it on alternative news, you have still awakened, because you've moved to the back door. You've gone behind the front, which is the false presentation, the false narrative. You've gone behind it and you've discovered some truth.
We've seen behind the curtain.
Seen behind the curtain, exactly. So timelines are the same thing as dimensions, but if you want to use direction, the nine say to me that there is only one direction, there is only one timeline, there is only one dimension. However, because in the truth of reality, yes, there's one pulse. It's not even a dimension. It's not a timeline. It's not a time. It is a pulse of, well, 0 point is what they would call it. But because we have a third dimensional brain, it's an interface for code. So this is code, if you like, or structure that we don't understand in the third dimension. So we have to decode it. So the way we decode it is in a linear sense, through direction. So we'll use timelines, dimensions, left, right, up, down. So we need structure, which is what my books are all about. The nine use this model of structure to teach the fabric of reality and what it is. They use this, and each book has gone into more a deeper part of the structure, and they tell me we're still right at the beginning. And the last book blew my mind, to be honest, and I'm like, how much more is there? And they just, laugh, because it's infinite.
Lots.
Yeah. So timelines, a simple way of timelines is to just say, right, so say I woke up this morning and I put pink headphones on,
which are fabulous, by the way.
Yeah. So say I've got some green headphones. I actually haven't, but just say I've got some green headphones. There's another me, another Magenta, that chose to put on green headphones to talk to you. So that we have two timelines here, one timeline of the pink headphones, one timeline of the green headphones. They both exist. And I can communicate with the magenta wearing the green headphones. I can't, as I said, because I haven't got any green headphones. But, you know, for example purposes, you can communicate with the other you. This is the quantum aspect. This is the sideways movement, if you like. It's in the same time frame. It's the same day. It's the same year. You just made a different choice. Every choice you could have made has created a timeline. Some of them are very close to you, and some of them are so far away that they dissipate. They don't become reality. They're nowhere near your reality. Then there's future timelines. So this is looking at, say, magenta in 5 years' time, talking to you with blue headphones. So she's in front, or, you know, and you can change your past this way. You don't literally change the past in the way that it occurred, but you change the past through the way your memories are. You can change your memories. So then what you actually change is the person you would be had that actually happened. So let's take the example of a girl.
So are you repairing timelines?
Yes. So let's say you're a girl and you've been abused. Sexually abused in your past. One way of healing is to go back and look at the timeline where that didn't happen to you. You didn't come into contact with that abuser. So you took a very, very different timeline and you were no longer abused. What you can do, and this is deep work, I shouldn't really use this as an example, it's not simple, but you can go back and you can move into the timeline where that didn't happen. And this isn't really about you just convincing yourself it didn't happen, because that's burying trauma. What this is taking on different memories and becoming the person you would have been had that not happened. What's interesting though is if you do that, you will find that even the abuse actually made you who you are. And you might look at the person who wasn't abused and think, well, she doesn't know what I know, or she hasn't learned what I learned. She's learned something else. So what I mean is, once you open your heart and you take this journey of clearing and of wanting to move forward into truth and into these higher dimensions, everything will right itself. You know, the clearing, yes, on one hand you do it consciously, but on another hand, just simply by making that plea, I want to take this step. Magenta says I can. Are you out there? I'm open to this. I have an open heart. Please help me. It will start to happen naturally, but it's not always easy. It might mean that the day after you make that plea, you're expecting to meet some amazing guru who's going to sit you down under a willow tree and give you the teachings of reality. But what might actually happen is you have a huge row with your friend and you never speak to him again. Why? Because there was an unresolved issue there. So the way it works, it isn't always rainbows and unicorns. It can be tough. You're walking through sludge. You're walking through a big sludgy lake and you're clearing all the sludge out and turning the lake into a bright shining river, if you like.
You know, Magenta, I do something that I call life track analysis and repair, which is very profound, but you just gave me a beautiful tool to use. Instead, I'll go back and work through any traumatic thing, reconfigure the memories, make it so they're not harmful. And it really is empowering. But to take that extra step and allow a person to actually transfer timelines is a powerful, powerful tool. Thank you so much for that.
It is. And another way to use that is every time you've ever experienced a trauma, go back as the Jeff that you are now, or Jeffrey, I'm not sure which name you prefer.
Either
Jeff
way.
or Jeff? Okay. So go back to all the times that Jeff was upset when he was a little boy and he was crying, and you know, the next door neighbor's kid stole your football, or you fell over and hurt your knee, or major traumas. Go back, and as you are now, comfort him, put your arms around him and say, I love you more than anyone will ever love you, because I am you in the future. And you go through every single time that you can even think. And then you will come back. You'll probably go to sleep overnight and wake up the next morning. It can be instant, but usually it's the next day. And you will feel different. And you'll think, I remember that every single time I was ever upset, it's like there was someone there, someone guiding me. And now I know it was me. And when you do that, you close that loop. And then because you have healed and helped and communicated with Jeff in the past, Jeff in the future will come to you. And not just Jeff in the future in 5 years or 10 years, Jeff in the future in 26,000 years and 2 billion years and 2 billion million trillion light years, and that's your guidance system. So you create this line of self that goes forwards and backwards. So you've got future and past, you work with both. You've then got the sideways, which is the quantum, alternate selves, all the choices you could have made. You then have diagonal, which is your ancestral line, your ancestral clearing. All your ancestors, including living ancestors and ones that have passed over, can all influence you. So you clear from that as well. And that's sovereignty. That's empowerment. So you don't have to do it through thinking about it. If you have a pure heart and you are a loving person and you're healing others, this is going to happen naturally. But if you're stuck in this anger, which a lot of truthers are like, I've had enough. I want to know the truth now. This has got to get out right now. The deep state are still telling lies and people are still believing it. And it's got to stop. And they get very, very frantic. Oh, you can understand why completely. And they're right. But the way to deal with it is not to sit there and rip up your newspaper, throw your laptop out the window, kick the TV because you don't like the reports you're seeing. It has to be to go inward. That's the way to contribute towards this power that we are building together. That is what will bring the deep state down and the Illuminati. That is what will bring the truth to the world. That's what's going to deliver free energy. That's what's going to teach us the truth of our power that we've always had. We must unite. We must.
Yeah. And like Sandra says, it is an inside job. And to me, I realize that nothing is going to happen through you. Nothing's going to happen to you until something happens in you.
Oh,
You've
yes.
got to do the hard work, the dark night of the soul. You've got to get into the nasty, mucky lake and clear it out. And sometimes it can be difficult to remember that you're trying to clear the lake when you're up to your elbows in alligators, but stay at it, keep working with it. Magenta, please tell us how folks can get in touch with you and let us know when we can get your newest book.
Okay, so my website is magentapixie.com. If you type Magenta Pixie in any search, Google, you will more than likely find me. I've got a YouTube channel as well, which, that's my website. So, so if you click on Video Archive, you'll see all my videos. So this is my new book, The Infinite Helix and the Emerald Flame. Now, I will say, if you are a complete beginner in spiritual awareness, I wouldn't go to that one straight away. I'd go to Masters of the Matrix because they are created in a linear way. So I would start with Masters of the Matrix, then Divine Architecture and the Starseed Template, and then go for the Infinite Helix and the Emerald Flame. But
so
if
here's
you've been on
the Infinite Helix and the Emerald Flame.
Sacred Mysteries of Stargate Ascension. But it's more advanced material. And you will need to be clear before you do this work. So the Masters of the Matrix is the immunity and the clearing. Basically, Masters of the Matrix is matrix awareness. That's number one. You have to be aware that you are a matrix, that you are an energy system. Then matrix mastery. You become a master of that. You master all these directions that I'm talking about. Then the next book, Divine Architecture and the Starseed Template, is matrix architecture. You build the architecture. And as you do that, you create that language of light within the right brain. And you then analyze this through the left brain. So it becomes much more real. And then this latest one is about matrix transportation. So you're actually moving it. So if you're a beginner to a spiritual path, start at the beginning. The interesting thing is I had no idea of this. I didn't plan it. I didn't think I'm going to do a book about matrix mastery and then I'm going to go to, absolutely not. Had no clue. When I first started to write Masters of the Matrix, I thought it was another video for YouTube, and it's interesting. It brings us back to the twin flames. It was mine and my partner's 13th anniversary of being together for 13 years.
Wow.
Not married, together for 13 years. But all that time, I'd thought to myself, is he my twin flame or isn't he my twin flame? I just kind of didn't know. I hoped he was and I thought he was, but I wasn't sure. I know there are many who say and that's true. But when you analyze things, sometimes you don't. And sometimes you can have long relationships and not know. And on our 13th anniversary, he started to ask me questions. We were actually driving in the car and he was saying to me, What is past life contract? Do they even exist? And if they do, why would you even make one? What's the reason for making one? Can you break them? Can you change them? I'm like, hey, whoa, slow down. I can't answer all those. I don't know the answer. Let me bring the 9 in. So I brought the 9 in, and the 9 started to talk about us. And it was our 13th anniversary. The number 13, very powerful. Everything had been hidden, as in the fact that we were in a twin flame relationship was hidden from us until the right time. It was now coming out, and they were answering all the questions about the past life contract and how it related to us. They started talking about the masters of the matrix. So it was really a conversation from the 9 to my partner, and the realization that we were twin flames came on that day. So 13 is the hidden. We're in it now. If you look at the Mayan calendar, we're in the 13th back turn. Really, that was around 2012. That's the awakening year. We're in the 13th back turn, if you like, or were in 2012, which is that which has been hidden shall be revealed. So it's personal and it's global. So a few days later, I said to my partner, I'm going to bring that Masters of the Matrix information in about past life contracts, and ask the 9 to talk about it again to make another video. So he said, yeah, okay, I'm going to do whatever. So he's on his laptop, I'm on my laptop. So I'm bringing all this information through, and they're going into one concept and then another and then another. And I'm thinking, well, how on earth is this going to round off into a conclusion in like 10 minutes for a video for YouTube? And it went on and on and on, and opened up more and more and more concepts. And I thought, this isn't a video, this is a book. So the whole thing just took me by surprise. The second book I intended to write, but I had no idea it would follow on from the first. I knew nothing about the architecture or the structure. So that took me by surprise. But this third one, it's so interesting that we're doing the truth and new age, because what I actually wanted to do was talk about that. I just brought forward a transmission about dark deeds pole shift, and I wanted to, it was specific to why are the truthers being prevented from speaking on social media? Why are the truthers having their social media platforms taken away from them? Because at that time, going back in February, there were some big names in the truther communities losing their Twitter accounts and being kicked off Facebook and being shut down from YouTube. It's still happening now.
And some little names like me.
Yeah. So I'm asking this question. So I brought through a whole transmission that's on YouTube as a video. So I said to them, I want to analyze that channeling, that transmission. I want to know more about this. And so that's what I did. And I thought, I said to my partner, if I turn this into a very small ebook, just pop it on the website, it won't be very long. He said, yeah, that's fine. So I start making this small ebook about why truthers are getting kicked off social media. And then they start talking about the DNA and Stargate Ascension and the fabric of reality and the 0 point and the flame and creation and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, whoa, I want to ask more about all this. So the whole thing is written very organically. It's my whole experience of that communication. So the truther question was answered somewhat, but it took us into Stargate Ascension, which is the whole sort of premise of your show with me today. It's Absolutely. Like, well, we're talking about truthers and the new age and how they can come together. But really the answer is we go beyond. So I had no idea that this book would be Matrix Transportation.
Exciting stuff. Magenta, I have the feeling that this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship and partnership.
Excellent. Yes, I've still got to talk about twin flames.
Do you want to?
Well, if you like.
Absolutely. I want to be respectful of your time. If you'd like to talk about it, please do.
Okay. So twin flames, there's so many different analysis out there, so many different teachings about twin flames. What the 9 have told me that ultimately, if you look at the oneness of the universe being one pulse, then that's the flame. And there's a reason why it's called the flame. If you look clairvoyantly at it, it actually looks like fire, and it is fire because the nearest substance we have in this reality, in matter, is actually plasma.
I just closed my eyes and viewed it, and it's plasma. I was about to say it as you said it.
So it's a plasma flame. So that's the flame.
It's blue, right?
It's blue. That's the one at the celestial level. It can change color, but the predominant color is blue.
This is good stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what you will see clairvoyantly. My book talks about the emerald flame, which is a different flavor or a different, but it's related. So, but the flame is this unity, this oneness, this pulse. And this pulse wanted to know what it was. It didn't know what it was. It wanted to know if it was conscious. It's very difficult to analyze the flame, as it's one moment, one time, one thought, no moment, no time, no thought. It's none of these things and all of these things. It's beyond our comprehension, but we can comprehend it. But we need to go into multiple ways of thinking, and we need to become a genius. But when we get our 12-strand template back, that's what we will be, and we will know. We won't just comprehend, we will be this. It's a complete reflection of it. So the twin flame is the first separation from that thought. I am conscious. And then the reflection to that is, am I? How do you know you're conscious? So then we're going to find out that we're conscious. How do we do that? We divide. And
you're discussing this in 11:11, by the way.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. 11:11. That's great. So we mirror this. We mirror this in our reality. So we mirror this by taking the perspective of I am I, because we have an identity that I. Then we become we, because we're looking at all these multiple selves and higher selves and guides and everything else. Then we become I again, because we're all cohesively, we've come together. We mirror that in our relationships as well. So another way of saying this would be that you are your own twin flame. Your higher self, your true twin flame is Jeff in the higher dimensions, in the future dimensions, because it's the flame.
Absolutely.
So the energy that reflects that alignment with your true twin flame can present in many different partners, but it will prevent in the one partner that when it comes to synchronicity and destiny is drawn into your life through this resonance. It's a total magnetic reflection. And so that's why that person is your twin flame, but it doesn't mean that they're the only twin flame. For example, what happens when somebody has a twin flame connection and they lose that partner? Either that partner just leaves them or that partner passes over. Then or what if that person sees someone and thinks that's my twin flame and they never get with them? They're then in this place of lack, in this place of victim. My twin flame didn't want to be with me. My twin flame left me. My twin flame passed over. And you're left in this place where you're bereft and you are lost and you are incomplete. And that is not the aligned energetic to the flame. You are always complete. Therefore, if you stand within that flame, within that pillar of light, also known as the Christ, you stand within that Christ, which is Christ consciousness. That's where the Christ comes from. You're standing in that pillar. The universe will regenerate through your own structure, your own emotions, your own thoughts. The universe will regenerate another. But it all comes in destiny. So you're with your twin flame. But the way to find out if you're with the twin flame is to see the twin flame not as a person, but as an energy in itself. It's the flame. And you are the participants within that flame. So if you look at the Vesica Pisces geometry, you'll see two circles that merge together. So say we've got you, Jeffrey, and then we've got Sandra as the other circle. You merge together. What is in that little middle bit? That's where you mirror source, you mirror the Christ, you mirror the flame, because that's the Holy Trinity. If you want to use biblical language, that's the three: Father, Son, Holy Ghost. There's a lot of truth in these biblical and religious texts, but it's all metaphoric code to be decoded. Now's the time to decode it. So you're in a good position because you know lots from that point of view, and you've probably become a little bit antagonistic towards it and thought, well, that's, but now you can come into the place where you think, okay, so where's the truth? The truth is in the code. It's not in the literal interpretation. It's in the code of what it means. So that central piece inside the Vesica Pisces is your creativity. It's your creation. It can be a child. It can be an idea, a book, a conversation. It can be a structure, what you are doing with your YouTube channel and Sandra coming in and bringing in her teachings and you're working together. That makes you a twin flame couple because you mirror the Vesica Pisces. You are a creative couple. And you've been brought together for the middle bit. You've been brought together for the creation. But that doesn't mean that these circles that are you and Sandra are not as important as what you create.
And they are complete circles and must remain so.
Yes, absolutely. You're two infinities. You are individual. You don't merge fully. You don't merge the circles together as one. You merge the middle and create the third aspect, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, the Trine, the Triad. So anyone out there who thinks they've lost their twin flame or the twin flame has left them, that's true, but that does not mean that the universe cannot generate another. But if you're in a place of lack, then the universe will give you more of what you're projecting, which is more lack, more victimhood, more powerlessness. If you come into a place of, I know that I am the Christ, I know I am the flame, I know that I am within the law of attraction, the universe will generate your match. So the twin flame is a misunderstood concept, I would say, within the New Age community. And you won't hear much. A lot of people will say, well, you're a soul and you're split into a male and a female and you're put into two different bodies and then you meet up again. That's true, but it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for the true division. Everything is metaphor. The nine say to me, metaphor sits like a fractal, like a rose, and you uncurl all the layers of the metaphors and you just keep going.
And it's so amazing, if you know, coming from my biblical background, the word Elohim in the beginning of the Bible, and God created the heavens and the earth. It is gods and goddesses, male and female.
Yes.
And I always thought, here's Thor and here's Diana, but it's so much deeper than that. It is male and female essence overlapping in a creative torus, and it's so deep and powerful. Thank you so much for that, Magenta.
Yes, and that's what would be the Christ-Sophia alliance, either Christos and Christa or Christos and Sophia. The Christ-Sophia alliance creates the Christ-Sophia template, which is the template for all life. And that's
people think that we worked this out, because I've been talking about that. But we have never talked to each other before. It's just amazing.
No. Are people saying that? Oh, you two have worked this all out. Excellent. No, we haven't.
Because what we're talking about is just it's.
No, we
talk
haven't.
about synchronicity. It's amazing. It has been an absolute pleasure. I want to be responsible with your time. Is there anything else that you feel like you'd like to share, though?
Just to say that when you say synchronicity, it's magic as well, and you feel it.
It is with a K.
Yeah, absolutely, with a K, and you feel that magic, and that's because you're the magician. The master of the matrix is the alchemist and also the magician. So when you hear all this stuff in the New Age community, magician and alchemist, and I mean, some people get very lost and they can say things like, I am Thoth, or the Elohim. I am the representative of the Elohim. I am the Elohim. And they truly believe it. The thing is that they're correct. They are. The thing is, so are all the starseeds. That's everyone.
They're not the only one. They are one, but they're not the only one.
They are. So that's when you get this distorted, which the nine call the God complex, but you would perhaps call them a sociopath or psychopath. I'm not sure which. I'm not really familiar with sociopath, psychopath, and narcissist. I know what a narcissist is, but I'm not sure where to place them.
But if you have a chance, take a look at Sandra's channel. She's got a great three video series on that. That's amazing clarity.
Yeah, well, you do see a lot of this in the spiritual movement, unfortunately, and this does give the New Age a bad name. You only have to meet one person who is a master as a teacher, and they have amazing knowledge. You're thinking, great, I found my teacher, and then they turn out to be a real nasty person.
Exactly.
But what's actually happened there is they have strengthened and worked upon the solar plexus, which is power, the power center. So they're powerful. They know how to manipulate energy. They are the magician. And they have activated the third eye. So they have visuals. They are in visual situations. They are in communication. They see, they create. But they have not opened their heart, which balances the solar plexus and the pineal gland third eye. If the heart is closed, you have a service to self formation, which is what the dark masters are, the dark magicians that are beyond the deep state, the Illuminati cabal structure, those at the top of the tree. That's what they have done. They have worked, and they've done it deliberately. They have deliberately worked on the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, the base chakra, the pineal gland, and the crown, and they close the heart. It creates a different configuration, one of power. If you open the heart, it brings the power into alignment. It's no longer power and control over others. It becomes power through love, and that's a different kind of power. It's not power anymore. It's surrender. It's power in its joy and its bliss, but it still creates the configuration that takes you into ascension. Mm-hmm. So if you meet a spiritual teacher, discernment needs to be applied. You must be discerning. That's with you, with me. Anyone listening to us needs to discern us.
Absolutely.
And you need to discern your own guidance system as well. Even when you've asked for with a pure heart and you have a being, you can say, are you of the Christ? Are you of Christ consciousness? You work with that guidance structure. You ask them questions. People say to me, how do you know the 9 are good? My answer would be, do you think I would have come online in 2008 and delivered messages and if I hadn't questioned them already? But there are people out there who haven't. I have seen people teaching. They open up, they start channeling, and 6 months later they're online. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they're still beginners. And I made this collection in 1993, and we've been trained since birth and all that. So yes, I questioned the 9 again and again and again. I also ignored them. I didn't do what they said. They would tell me things and I would think, no, I don't agree with that. And I'd go off and do my own thing, only to find out that they were right all along. So it's a journey. It's a journey with self. It's a journey of exploration. And anyone can take this journey, and everybody is. Not everybody. It'd be nice if everybody was. But the truthers have had their eyes opened to one layer. A lot of the truthers will talk about being red-pilled, and they have been. They've taken the red pill, just like Neo in the Matrix. Good on them for taking that pill. But the thing is, there's more pills. You've only just taken one.
How about that?
One, and another one, and another one. There's many more red pills. Keep taking the red pills and open up to the next level of reality. If you just take one, you get stuck in that one place, which is, oh my goodness me, we've been lied to. We've had all these atrocities done to humanity for all these years. It's still going on now. And you are angry and furious, and you become a victim, and you're trying so hard to do whatever you can, and you're doing it all from the 3rd dimension. Let's send loads of emails to the Vatican, and let's send loads of black magic to whoever. It doesn't work like that. Take the next red pill and the next red pill and the next red pill. And when we have all done that and we unite, as the 9 said, your power knows no bounds. And when we do unite, the cabal structure has to crumble. It can't survive because they're in the minority. They're in the minority. We are the majority, but we've been the majority in ignorance, and we now need to be the majority in not just as clear as them, but in more clarity than them. And we will be, because we're opening our hearts. So we have the correct configuration of the Christ. We're not in a distorted configuration when we balance all of this. We're in the correct configuration. Therefore, and we don't look at the Illuminati, say it's got to the point where they have been brought down and everything's been brought to light and we've won, if you like. We're not going to be like, aha, we've got you, It's more like we had to do this because that is right. It's integrity, it's justice. But we still give them compassion. And we still think, well, you guys made a huge mistake, to put it mildly. And now they need to go off and clear all their karma or whatever it is they're going to do next. We don't need to worry about where they are going because that's their journey. So it's about finding compassion even to our oppressors, which is a really tough one. And again, you go back to the Christians, and that's why you'll see so much what's it called, dichotomy inside the Christian faith, because people will be talking these Christian doctrines, but they're not living it, which is compassion in the face of your enemy, love thy neighbor, love your brother as yourself, and all that.
And just as we wrap up this whole truther new age thing, I was full on truther for many years. I was known as the Christian whistleblower, and my idea was to expose the fear and guilt control matrix that Christianity has dropped over us for 2,000 years. And I think I did a pretty good job bringing out a lot of information, been on coast to coast several times, brought out a lot of information that people never would have heard of. But I started getting these emails of, okay, Jeff, we get it. We're free. What next? And then when I began to run into people like you and Sandra, I began to have my perspective broadened by folks within the new age, if you will, movement. And I began to see, there really are things that we need to do beyond just identifying the fear and guilt control matrix, getting free from it. Yeah, we took the red pill, but now where's the next red pill? So now I find myself branching out into new cosmic knowledge, new ideas, new growth. And it all is about ascending the event, whatever. We can talk about the event sometime, getting to where we need to be. And the inner work never really stops, does it?
No, it's a constant journey all the time. And that's another thing with the new age. It's like you don't put yourself in a box, think, well, I'm going to jump out the Christian into the truth of box, and then jump into the new age box. You are just you.
Right.
I have never ever put myself in a new age box. I'm in there because I am channeling and I'm talking about diamond light codes and the rainbow light body. Therefore, I must be in the new age. But am I really? Am I really any different to you?
No. We're very much the same. And I've always defied categorization. Who are you? I'm me.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about labels. And I think once we get beyond the labels, and Magenta, I'm very excited, and I feel a huge surge of optimism that our best days are ahead of us. Yes. I feel that not only will the truthers and the quote unquote new age people come together, but I think all of us that have heard that clarion call in our mind, all of us that have awoken, I think we're realizing that there's more of us than there are of them.
Oh,
and I think we realize that as we come together, the synergy is so tremendous. It's not just Magenta and Jeff equaling 2, but when Magenta and Jeff get together, it equals 2 to the second, third, fourth, fifth power. And as we continue to get more together, the power just continues to expand, and the sum is the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. Thank you for taking me down this road. Thank you for opening my eyes to this. It's been my privilege to talk with you, and I'm looking forward to the next time, Magenta.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on your show. It's been great.
Please sit tight just for 1 second as I thank our audience for joining us. I thank you so much. I salute you for being here, seeking after truth. Please visit Magenta Pixie's site. I'm going to go once again so I can see the URL. It is www.magentapixie.com. Go to the Magenta Pixie YouTube channel. And I don't know about you, but as soon as I get off this show, I'm going to go buy some books from Magenta Pixie. And this is the New Cosmic Knowledge channel for Magenta Pixie. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you a little bit later today.